I think the number one element of longevity is happiness, joy, having family, having relationships, being in connection, community, knowing that they have people there for them in the good times and the bad. That I think is the number one thing that we forget. First of all, I think all these people that are like the biohackers, they're telling you how you're going to live longer. I always say, how do you know? How do you know? You'd have to go through your entire life not taking all those pills or doing that thing, die, get reincarnated, come back, and then do those things and see if you live longer. And here's the thing, you like actually get into an accident or something terrible happens and then it's over. So I think that longevity has to do with sensory presence today. It has to do with what you're doing right now. You can't, I think a lot of people are living in the past. You can't worry too much about the future. It's what you're doing today that's going to ensure a better tomorrow. So I think the number one element of longevity that I've heard from every older person that I've ever interviewed. My mom lives in an independent living place where the median age is about 90. And some of these people are like 104, 105. I say, what's your secret? And their single top thing is happiness, joy, having family, having relationships, being in connection, community, knowing that they have people there for them in the good times and the bad. That I think is the number one thing that we forget is that when we're always in what they call samsara, we're always suffering, that we're really not living presently. We're either living in past memories, the remembered past, the hopeful future, but really sensory presence is where longevity begins.
One of the correlations between all the blue zones that they talked about that I paid more attention to than even the diet was the community.
Right.
The attribute of community is something that is so valuable. If you think about it, it's something that as we get more and more lost in these phones, we
Mm-hmm.
have the ability to lose our sense of community, thinking that we're connected, but not actually being connected. And so I couldn't agree with you more. I think that when you start to look at longevity, you're looking at, who are you surrounded around? Who's around you? Who are your people? And how are they lifting you up, providing you energy? Who's dragging your butt out of bed on days you don't feel like doing something?
That's
Who are
right.
those people in your life, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's the number one element. You can live in a blue zone, do red light therapy, meditate, go and have all your magical pills or whatever you're going to do, use peptides, whatever. But really, if the fundamental basis is not community oriented, if you don't have people to keep you in check, again, on the good times or the bad, that's the thing that's gonna keep you here. And I know this for myself. My mom, who's 85, I just went through this whole thing last year with her. She had broken her leg, and it was this whole big rigmarole. And watching her in a nursing home for a very short period of time, where it was called rehabilitation. And I was like, well, unless you're rehabilitating her to live in assisted living, like you're doing a great job with that. But I want to rehabilitate her to get her back into her independent life. And y'all aren't doing it. I was like, Mom, we're out of here. And I just was on it with her, helping her every step of the way. But I have to be honest, I think that is why people in their 80s die, is because they don't have the family support network to keep them here, to know that they're cared for, and to give them that extra effect. And they just get tired. I can't even imagine my mother navigating the medical world the way that I did for her on her own. She'd already be gone by now.
The system is set up for failure.
Yeah.
The system is set up for, rehab is a joke. I mean, rehab is just an assisted living facility where they put you while they figure out where to get your paperwork filed to go to the next crappy place that you're going to end up in where nobody wants to visit. Not only do you not want to be there, but nobody wants to visit you. Like,
Exactly.
it's awful. You walk in, the place smells like pee.
That's what I was
It
going to say. It
it's awful.
stinks
It's
and
urine
everybody's angry.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it just smells like death. And
Yeah.
then you're like, "Oh, I don't know why the grandkids don't want to come." No, ultimately we should be propping that generation up. We should be helping to take care of them. We should be honoring them the way that a lot of Asian cultures do. Even
Great.
in Central and South America, there's more of an honoring of that generation versus this castaway mentality where it's like, oh, their body's dying, so I guess they are too.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. The doctors actually said that to my mom after she broke her leg, and it left her with drop foot. She couldn't move her leg properly. And when I was talking in front of my mother, by the way, the doctor said, you know, she's 85. It's really a 50-50 chance that she'll ever walk again. And as the words are hurling through the air, I'm like, I said to my mom, Mom, don't listen to that guy. He didn't know who he's talking to. Like, you have me on your side. It's like a 90% chance you're going to walk again. You just don't listen to those words. That negative energy, I think, can really get sunk into you. I've heard her doctor say, well, nothing can really help her, this, that, or the other thing. And I'm like, you mean you can't help her? I just want to be clear. It's not nothing. It's just you can't, right? Because if it was nothing, I mean, I can help her. So it just sounds like you're not confident with your tools. Not, I don't think you're very aware that there's more than what you're saying. So I am 100% with you. I think that there's a big issue in those assisted places, is that these people are overworked, underpaid, understaffed. And so it really takes a village to rehabilitate somebody, and doing it in a way that is getting them excited to get back into life. And again, it gets exhausting as you get older. You're kind of like, maybe I'm just done with this. It's too hard. It's too hard. When my mom says that, I don't want to be a burden, I'm like, Mom, get it out of your mind. This is our lives to harness. This is our story. Your story isn't, I had a gentle fall, I broke my leg, a doctor wrecked my life, and I died. That's not your story. Your story is, a guy botched my leg, and my daughter and I just went at it to get me back, and I thrived, and I enjoyed the rest of my life, and actually grew closer to my daughter, and we had a great time together going into the pool. And that's the story, right?
yeah,
And almost instantly it changed her, and it got her back into activity, and she's made great friends at this independent community that she lives in, and it's beautiful to see her thriving even at 85.
I think the generation before us, um, had a tendency to just follow the direction of whatever the doctor said. It was the generation that had polio, and they watched it get
Mhm.
eradicated. All these things were fixed from the medical world. But what comes with great success often comes a little bit of laziness, and that is the curiosity of the profession kind of stopped in general. This is not everybody. There's a lot of wonderful doctors out there, but the curiosity of the profession kind of died a little bit. And it just said, oh, if I say this, then you should do this. And doctors are very quick to tell you that you're never going to do something again.
Yeah.
And that is an awful way to help someone heal when we know so much of it's mental. We know so much of it's active. So I had a client one time. She was in her 90s, and she got out of bed, and most people that get out of bed fast and they don't get their feet, they fall, they break their hip, and it's over, right? It's like it's a downward spiral from that point. She called me to tell me that she fell, but then she said, the good news is, I walk 3 miles a day, Scott, and they told me that I had so much muscle around my hip that any other person my age would have broken their hip. But because I had so much muscle, I just had a deep bruise, and I'm okay. And she was back to walking in weeks.
Wow.
The difference between just staying active and moving and mentally sharp is such a significant difference as we age. And so hopefully this challenge to doctors will be, now that they're supposed to be getting a little more nutrition training because they haven't had any of that. That's important. What does the diet play? Maybe mental will be next. Maybe it will be how we talk and what we say.
I hope so, because I think that the mental health crisis that we have is very glaring. I think after COVID happened, I lived in New York before I moved to Florida, and it was a real wake up call how you saw the mental health issues really all over the place, because a lot of the shelters were closed, and then these people were just walking the streets, and it's like, we can do better. We can absolutely do better. And the crazy thing is, like, when I think of psychiatry, it's crazy that psychiatry, they don't study the brain, which is right. They don't study the brain. They study emotions, they, things like this, but they actually don't study the brain itself. So I think oftentimes we're giving people in anything, mental health, physical problems, whatever, we give people a medication to treat a symptom. But the problem, I think, with the medical field today is that that's what they are. They're very symptom driven, and they study pharmaceuticals. So if you want to take a pharmaceutical, go see a doctor. If you want to get a surgery, go see a surgeon. But if you want longevity, you want well-being, you want healthcare, they really have minimal education and training on it. We think that they know a lot, but again, they really don't. I mean, I had even said to her doctor, hey, I'm going to use peptides in my mom's leg. I'm going to do TB 500 and BPC 157. And she goes, oh no, that causes cancer. And I was like, where's your research? What research paper did you read? What are you even talking about? So the next time I was there, I brought her some literature. I go, look, there's not a lot of studies on humans, but there's nothing also that says that it's causing cancer. Can like human growth hormones and things like that? Can things adapt? Can we create angiogenesis? Yes, but is the upside potential of reducing inflammation enough where we actually help cell turnover and get my mom well? And she just kind of like blankly stared at me and said no more. So yeah, if you want to live well, you have to do your research. Don't believe all of the Wild West that's also out on Instagram. If you're getting your information from Instagram, I'm sorry, that's not really the place. It's like the Wild West out there. There's so many scams and things that look really scientific, but really there's not a lot behind them. And you have to use your own judgment. I'm somebody who, I feel like I'm a human experiment. I'm always trying something. And when something's working, do it. Even if people say that's crazy, that's so silly, I can't believe you do it. If it works for you, do that and do more of it even, right? So I think we also, with the medical field, we sort of lost our trust in our own intuition and our own sensations. And again, cause to symptom. If we think more about what caused this to happen, most often the root cause of many things is what I call stuck stress in the body. It's actually not an acute trauma like bending over to pick up a pencil and have back pain. Not an acute trauma. But even dis-ease or disease can be a cumulative effect of all sorts of things: emotional, psychological, neurological, chemical instability. So I think pain is a great motivator, and it's also a way for us to investigate our bodies and become more of a curious human rather than a symptom focused, I'm going to look on PubMed and figure out what this is kind of a thing.
So YouTube has this cool feature where they pick the next video for you, and it's right here on this screen. So I hope you enjoy this next video.